Welcome to Kyiv.
It has happened. This is Ukraine's capital. What seemed unthinkable in the 21st century is now underway. A democratic country has been invaded by its nuclear-armed neighbor on multiple fronts. People are not safe in their own homes. It is a full-scale attack, forcing Ukrainians to decide whether to flee or to fight. Russia is using fighter jets, missiles, ground forces, and special forces, attacking from the east, the north, and the south, targeting both military infrastructure and major urban centers, including the capital city.
From Kharkiv to Chernihiv to Kyiv. Civilian-occupied zones were not spared by Russian missiles. The widespread invasion commencing in the early morning hours Thursday.
Fear isn't stopping these folks from going to a country that's under attack. At first, the pastor here at AVL City Church had just planned to send aid to Ukraine, but then he felt compelled to go directly there himself. An obligation to his people, his faith, and to humanity.
There's always fear, but whenever you have that sense of obligation, then the fear takes a back seat.
That's what's driving Pastor Sergio Fasuk to go to Ukraine, the country he fled back in 1989 to escape religious persecution when it was under Soviet control.
We know oppression, we know communism, we know where freedom is lacking.
And he won't be alone on his trip back home.
What started out as just me going by myself, we ended up actually moving into and getting a team to go. So there are 4 of us.
His mother, brother, and another leader with his church are flying to Poland on Monday, later planning to cross the border into Ukraine.
We strongly feel like God is sending us.
They're primarily bringing monetary donations, along with some medical and personal hygiene products. All of the donations they've received will go directly to people who need it.
We have landed in Warsaw.
All of our luggage was waiting for us. We literally rounded the corner and there it was. When we picked it up, we walked right through customs. Nobody asked a question. It was like we were invisible, and then we just ended up on the curb outside. We made a simple phone call, and within, 5 minutes, our van showed up in that amount of time. That's how fast it was. Our connections here all came through.
So for us to have transportation is very difficult. But then to go and have an actual van that we can drive and use for as long as we need to is unbelievable.
This is huge, guys. This is when God goes before you. This is the stuff you don't worry about the details, because God is a God of details.
And we're gonna take it to Ukraine is insanely miraculous. Asking if it was a humanitarian aid. We said yes, and they just led us through to the next part. Okay, it's getting real. This is a lot more tense than I planned for.
After a tense but clearly blessed border crossing from Poland to Ukraine, we drove to Lviv, a city that has tension in the air, but on first glance, by outward appearance, does not seem to be at war. Because refugees had fled from the east to this western city, there was not a single hotel room available for weeks. We pulled into a 134-year-old church that graciously allowed us to sleep on the floor alongside other refugees. This is when we met Yuri, a physician now running a shelter for hundreds as a full-time volunteer.
Train station is very nearby, so the people just arrive at night, spend the night here, and we try to help them, Either they stay here or they move to the other cities in Ukraine, or we get them to the border. I'm a presbyter here in this church, but basically my profession is so far from that. I am a doctor of physical and medical sciences. I don't make any money here.
Why are you here? You make more money as a doctor.
This is my church, so I serve here. That's my duty.
Father, I pray that you touch this place. Let this place be a beacon of hope in this city, Father, and this place as well. And I thank you for Yuri and his wife, Hugo, Father. I pray that you bless their family, God. That you continue to pave the way for them, God. Give them strength, the strength that only comes from.
Why would you leave your job that's paid? Why would you do? Because this is my church. You know, that's the stuff that matters. The church is bigger than showing up on a Sunday. Church is about connecting with the people in need and truly being the hands and feet of Jesus. My country's at war, where else would I be? And I say, are you joyful? What is on your face? And he's like, this is, like, you could just tell it was about God. It wasn't about him. And how much have they given?
Oh my goodness.
Man.
I feel tired. But scared no, because, you know, you die just once. You die once, you never die twice, right?
That night we slept on the floor with the ironic comfort that we only die once. And within hours, that reality felt all too close as air raid sirens woke us from our sleep.
Russia's attacks on Ukraine are heading further west toward NATO allies. 6 missiles were launched at the western city of Lviv. Ukraine's defense systems took down 2 of the weapons, but the others took a direct hit on the town that is about 40 miles from the border with Poland.
I don't know. So we just met somebody that is working in a rural hospital, and we were able to give an incredible amount of supplies.
Well, this is so amazing. The people taking whatever we have, like hospital stuff, to the hospital in the Chernihiv. And they're working like everywhere, not just in the hospital, because it's a war zone. So they have so much doctors, like they came together and working outside the hospital, in hallways, whatever they need.
We had 50 pounds of medical stuff easy that we gave them in a huge bag, going straight to the front lines where we can't even go. And God arranged all of it.
So we really praising God for what He's doing. Just amazing. How everything just put together. It's so amazing.
One local business is an indoor entertainment escape room. They're definitely not hosting games in a city under siege. We met the owners and listened to their plight and empathized.
God chose us to come here to meet with you. That is not a coincidence. And so we're here to bless you, not because we are good people, but because we have been forgiven of so much. We have done so much wrong in our lives. But we're here because God loves us, and He wants me to tell you that He loves you. He is near. He is not far. He is not gone. God sees you and wants to bless you, and that's why we came here.
Ти знаєш, скільки горе в цій страні, Господь. Я знаю, що твоє серце вливається кров'ю. Я знаю, Господь, що Ти, Господи, любиш народ цей. Я знаю, Господи, що Ти заботишся за нього. І я знаю, що Ти любиш цих людей, яких зараз ми молимося разом. Господи, я прошу Твого благословення.
That guy, he was just listening, and then he interrupted my mom and basically said, so wait a minute, you're telling me that you guys knew that there's a war going on here, and then you decided to get on the plane and travel halfway across the world to come here to help? And mom's like, yes. He's like, wow, I can bless that. I can be a part of that. And then he reached out and then hugged my mom and hugged all of us. I think he was just floored because he thought that we were just here as like tourists, kind of like in our own little thing. But when he realized that it was intentional, it blew him away. That's God.
After blessing businesses and individuals in Lviv, we piled in the van and headed east to Ternopil. This is where we met with Dennis, a missionary that has spent time in the Asheville area but is now in Ukraine, heading up an intense ministry rescuing women, children, and the elderly from the front lines of war in the capital city, Kyiv.
But overall, we're working together with different churches, different ministries to create really a network that is helping people be fed, equipping people in the front lines, and helping those that are evacuating get out and be safe. I honestly think that in this time, God is moving powerfully. Our biggest prayer need is for the Lord to just protect the hearts of the people that are going through trauma.
And that became one of the next steps in our ministry. Listening, praying with, and comforting the refugees as they shared their traumas.
Yes, the people stay in подвал.
Basement?
Yes, 10 days without water, without eating, without electricity. Cold, very cold was this snow. Girl like my daughter, 8 years, she died in this. Yes, because soldiers don't give corridor. Oh, I want home. I want kiss my mommy. Your mother is very good woman, and you.
We wept with those who wept and grieved with the refugees that shared their stories.
И когда уже началось, просто грады начали сыпаться через дом, через нас. И самолеты бомбили. И самолеты, да. Они решили уезжать.
Но еще бомбы были далеко. Но когда подошло все сюда и начались каждый день бомбы, взрывы и обстрелы, трусился дом, повылетали окна, посыпалась штукатурка. И когда я беру вот так вот ребенка, и я знаю, что сзади летит самолет, летит бомба, я ее вот так с собой укрываю. Я говорю, Господи, пусть сохранится хоть она.
Because our hearts connected with the refugees, we felt compelled to join the evacuation teams driving right into the heart of war in Kyiv in a 22-hour mission beginning before sunrise the next day. These rescue missions happened 5 days a week with rotating driver crews.
So we're going to an undisclosed location to deliver some aid to the front line and also pick up some children and bring it back west to safety.
This is the most dangerous part of our trip so far, and probably will be for the whole trip.
Yeah. This is why we came.
Welcome to Kyiv.
Over 8 hours with 4 vans full of supplies, bringing it into the city, and we're just unloading supplies and produce, and then we're going to pick up children, women, elderly, and men, evacuate them. That's what we're doing right now. I gotta say, man, this is hard. You got 9 people, and this is what they're bringing with them, leaving a whole area that may not even be here by the time they come come back if they could come back.
Several times since we've been here, we've heard loud explosions that you can almost feel on the hairs of your arms. We are definitely in an unsafe area, but when human lives are at stake, it's worth the risk.
We'll be evacuating the refugees. And so the vans are full, and I get this lovely spot here on this beautiful chair and the floor, about 8+ hours to drive back to safety. And so we're doing it.
So that's air raid sirens going on right now, and they're basically telling people to take cover. So hopefully they don't hit too close. But we'll see. We gotta drive out of here.
Thousands of refugees are arriving at makeshift shelters on the floors of churches that have been turned into massive sleeping centers with soup kitchens. They're run completely by volunteers. We're providing safety equipment, emergency trauma medical equipment, vans, maintenance, fuel, and food, all to support the refugee rescue efforts. These 22-hour rescue missions go on 5 days a week, pulling the most vulnerable women, children, and elderly from the front lines of war. On the same day this footage was taken of our mission, a convoy running parallel to ours came under fire and a driver was killed. Since then, we've committed to life-saving body armor for drivers. This is the kind of work that we're doing. With air raids all through the night in Ternopil, we decided to head back to Lviv and connect with another church running a massive shelter and feeding program out of its basement.
So we have arrived at Golgotha, which is a church and a ministry here on the outskirts of Lviv. Spoke with the pastor here named Vladimir. He just became pastor. He was just voted in the beginning of the year, and then war broke out.
You have to remember that less than 2 weeks ago, there was no war here. And so churches have pivoted to pick up the needs of their communities by turning their churches into bomb shelters and housing facilities and care centers for people that are now displaced and hungry and needing a place to sleep at night. It's easy to take for granted how many people it takes to serve, and from the youngest to the oldest, people are working because they care and they love their communities. So in this kitchen, there's some older ladies, and then they depend on the youth to deliver an incredible amount of food for up to 500 people a day in the train stations. So we're down by the train station in Lviv, where all of the refugees are trying to get out of the country. They come here with just what they can carry, often hungry and cold. And some of them have been traveling for a really long time, so there's beds set up here so that they can take a rest if they need to. There's medical tents. There's churches down here serving hot soup, sandwiches, whatever it takes to keep people going. It is sad. The looks on people's faces are disbelief, frustration. Nobody wants to be here. So we are at the border of Poland, and all the cars are jammed up for miles. Okay. So we're gonna walk in. Gonna leave Ukraine on foot.
We just walked for miles from the Ukrainian border to the Polish border and on the other side of Poland. And we were just with the refugees, with all these people, with all the women and boys and girls and kids, and really just experienced the full effect and impact of walking and fleeing Ukraine, and also the warm reception of the Polish people. They have it all so organized and so warm and so compassionate. We are stunned at how we were received, completely blown away at every level. And for us, though, we know where we're going. We have a ride coming, we have a flight scheduled, we have a hotel to stay in. And so for us, we're good. But for everybody else, they just get here and then they figure out what's next in most cases. So much work that still needs to happen.
And you've noticed like women and children and the women would have these red puppy eyes because they could tell they've been crying a lot. And they're trying to be strong for their kids, and they're smiling for their kids. And it's like this rough journey. A lot of them are walking through. And then as soon as you hit the border, you come to Poland, and they like welcome you with open arms.
They're fleeing a war-torn country, and the stuff they're carrying is the only thing they have. Very sobering moment to be a part of. Not what we expected. We didn't even plan this. We were going to take a train, then we were going to drive across. Plan C prevailed, and this is what we did. We walked, and the experience was humbling. I don't know what to say. I've never experienced that before. I don't know what to say.
We are joined in studio this morning by Yuri, Sergio, and Farron. They just got back from Ukraine. How are you feeling since you've been back?
Oh, I mean, I'm trying to readjust. You know, it's kind of a little bit of a relief.
Yeah.
And also, kind of want to go back. You know.
Yeah. I wondered about that, how strong the urge was to go back.
Yeah, I think it's with everybody. We're just like, we get back home and then we try to get back to our daily lives, and you're like,
Well, you all three of you have gotten a perspective of this that none of us are ever going to have.
I feel like we left our heart in Ukraine. The exodus of people, normal, everyday people, people who have own businesses and jobs, children, women, families, older folks.
Yeah.
The exodus is unreal, and you can't help but connect with them on their journey. Yeah. Everything they've built and worked for is in flux right now because of the chaos and indiscriminate shelling over there. Yeah. It's not just military posts. Yeah. And so that's heartbreaking. And so when you see that firsthand and you witness and you listen to those trauma stories, you connect, and it's hard to re-engage when you come back home, knowing that there's such a difference to be made there for people that can help.
What really impressed me was the church.
I think the church got together and, I mean, they went on, let's go mode. Like, we got to take care of things. And they would bring food to the places where there's a lot of war going on. And, they would band together. And, as like Ukraine came together, which was really nice because it's a very divided country, just like ours is. But the churches there also came together, which was really impressive. I mean, they would, like Farron was saying, they would open up the church and, as refugees would come in, they would have just like a building like this with beds and stuff on the floors, and they would feed them. And I mean, that was what really was like, wow. I mean, the people there was just, they don't work for money. Everything is done for free 7 days a week. The drivers there are just absolute rock stars. They would go into the hostile situations and get these families, get these parents, get these moms and kids, and get them out of there and take them into Lviv or Ternopil. I mean, it's a dangerous job, and it's a long job. It's 18 to 20, 24 hours a day. And so, and they have, not only the Ukrainian military, you got the threat of hostiles. And one day you could be driving, like many have, just driving, doing what you've been doing for the past 2 weeks, and you get attacked. So, I mean, the church was what I really took back, and it was really, really awesome to see how they came together.
We did not show up as heroes and save the day. And that's so important for you to know. We showed up and identified churches that were already extremely busy helping everybody and needed more resources and more manpower. And we came alongside them with the resources that you sent with us. And so don't get it wrong. The heroes were already working so hard, and we came alongside them.
The van situation, I just heard about this yesterday because we're working out some details with vehicles, because that's a big need with the corruption, and the ability to get things across the border is much more difficult. We didn't know this, and I just found out, and I didn't tell these people, but this van that picked us up and that we took across the border with zilch issues, in the previous attempt, they wouldn't let this van go into Ukraine. That's why it was left there. And that's the van that picked us up, and they're like, well, let's give these Americans a shot. They just forgot maybe that God was like, yeah, go for it. And it was so quick. So knowing that the vehicle issue is a big issue there, but then also knowing that this particular vehicle was problematic and it was rejected from coming into Ukraine, that we just drove in smoothly was so God. Our consistent reaction was like, wow, look what God did. Wow. Like the whole time, every little thing, we're like, okay, well, what do we need? Let's pray for it. Boom. God shows up. Wow.
When God come along with us, He worked through us. So the one situation stand up when I go to that place where they are receiving refugees. Boy left to the Kiev. I will stay there. They don't want for me to go with them. So I really want to.
This is Mom. She's like, yeah, we're not going to Kiev. And we're like, yeah, we are. She goes, well, I'm going too. Yuri's like, it's too dangerous for you. She goes, then why are you going? We're like, no, Mom, you're not going. What's the thing that parents say? Just because I said so.
So I remember I come in like in the morning. It's a little bit later in the morning, and I step into the kitchen, and as just greet everybody and say, "So gross, what I could do for you? How can I help?" And the lady looked at me and she say, "Oh, you're already doing it with your smile. You're already doing it." So I just saw the girl. She's cleaning building, and I say, "Let me do it." She said, "No, I need to have something to do." I say, "Well, I want to just help, whatever, doesn't matter." "Well, you're from America. You want to just come here and clean?" I say, "Well, it doesn't matter. We all got children. Doesn't really matter." And the only thing where I just really, really see God's hand and how God healing the hearts through us. Like it's amazing. And you just think about it, like God healing a person. And I was like witness. The next morning, that lady was so much different. She said, I will sleep like a baby. So you see that lady go to like new people who comes, and just God working power, healing power go through her and help another person. And it's so amazing, so amazing.
Yeah, I gotta brag on my mom a little bit. She was a rock star at the place that we were staying at. It took us like an hour to leave because nobody wanted to let her go. She was just talking to everybody, and it was really awesome.
There are people who could not like hug their moms, and so she became like a surrogate mother for them. And I think it's really cool because it's not her. Like when you say, God, use me, you show up and you're like, God, how? God's like, right now with your smile, right now with cleaning the toilets, right now with just going with the person, right now with just listening, right now with praying for them, right now give them finances, give them medical thing. And so it's the best position to be. It's like, God, what do you want me to do right now here? And every place is different. And so it's weird for us to even share about what we've, quote unquote, done. But the vision for a church really just, has legs. It's like God through us, like God through our church, God through us over there.
Every amount that you give, we are committed to giving 100% of that directly to the Ukrainian refugees. There are no administrative fees attached to this. 100% of what you give goes straight to providing food and fuel and medical supplies to these places caring for refugees. Please give. We need your help. Go to avlcitycenter.com and click on the Ukrainian Relief Fund. We're counting on your support.
Бог любить теж Україну, Бог любить людей. Ми з Америки. В Біблії написано, що так би Бог полюбив світ, що віддав свого сина однородного, щоб той, хто повірив його, не загинув, але мав вічне життя. Це я хотіла те, що Христос нас любить і любить. Уявіть як свого Спасителя своє життя. І щоб шукайте церкву, яка євангельська, що вірить в Христа. Тому що тільки Христос написаний, єдиний, що дорога до мене. Тільки Христос.
And so, while our first journey in Ukraine helping the refugees came to an end, our hearts clearly are compelled to continue and return with more aid. We know God is calling us back, and we are already organizing and preparing to return. Not because we think we are the answer, but because we carry the hope and help of the Lord Almighty.